Thanks for staying up later. Kathleen Turner is with us, and any day now, House of Cards will be, as they say, at a theater near you. Now, this is kind of tough to unravel. I'll try to do it as concisely as possible without giving away too much of the plot, but you're the mother of a young girl who has lost her father, your husband, and she retreats into a world of her own.
Yes.
And you help to bring her out through your own love and nurturing and insight into her in a way that conventional treatment would not. Have I given away too much?
You did a great job. No, that's terrific. That really is. I always try to say it's a conflict of goods, which to me is a marvelous way to premise a film, because it's two people who want the best for this child but are in opposition as to the treatment, the way of achieving it.
Joey's not going to remember how to draw when you're finished with him, right?
Sometimes there is a trade-off. Sometimes.
Right, yeah. What's Sally's trade-off?
Sally doesn't have a trade-off if we move now.
What's Sally's trade-off?
She gets to grow up, have a normal life. You get your baby back.
Complete, just as she was. No breaks, no cracks.
If we move now.
Yeah.
Miss Matthews, Sally. Sally's condition has appeared out of nowhere. In 1 week's time, a perfectly normal, happy, healthy child has presented a condition that is impossible.
Come on, honey.
Miss Matthews, this kid's condition is volatile, okay? We don't have time to play games.
Tommy Lee Jones playing the psychiatrist.
Tommy Lee Jones plays the doctor, and I play the mother. Yes.
How much did your own circumstances affect either your choice of this role or your insight into it? Your father was in the diplomatic corps, so you, like the people in the film,
the culture shock of coming home.
Dislocation, because they start out in Mexico and then come home, and you have a young daughter of your own.
Yeah, there are a lot of cross ties. I have to tell you, to begin with, though, that this film is I've got 8 years of my life invested in this one. We took 7 years to be able to make it. When Michael Lesak, who wrote it and directed it, brought me the script almost 8 years ago, we tried, for 7 years to put the money together and to get it produced. So it started pre-child, pre-my daughter, pre-my parental experience. But I found in the years, my daughter is now 5, but she was just almost 4 when we finished this film, that I've learned. I don't know if I could have done it nearly as well not being a parent, if I were not a parent, because I've learned a lot from her about how you talk to a kid.
You know, it feels strange here sometimes for me, too. Do you want to talk about it? You don't have to, but I sure do wish you would. I really miss your talking to me. Idea. How about, you talk to me in Nahuatl? That way I won't understand what you say anyway. ¿Español? ¿Quieres hablar en español? Te quiero mucho, Sally Jean.
I'm completely grateful to my daughter for educating me well enough to do this film. But the culture shock, the coming back to a country you don't know, and the dislocation. Well, my family luckily was not broken until I was 17, until my father died then. So we always had the safety of the family unit around us. But I can remember coming back to the States every 2 years and going to Missouri, where my grandparents lived, and like being amazed at how many flavors of ice cream there were. And, I mean, this thing's like, I'd never been to McDonald's till I was 15. All these kind of things that leave people speechless nowadays because, of course, McDonald's weren't overseas then. Oh, boy. Date myself.
And in the film, your daughter in the film, her first language isn't English anymore.
No, she was brought up in Mayan and Spanish. But when she comes back, when she seems to... When we first come back to this country after completing the job that my husband and I were working on together down there in the story, she just stops talking and seems to be retreating into what they believe to be a form of autism. But there is no real treatment. There is no known way to really analyze and treat autistic children. They don't really know what causes it or what it is.
And in the end, although it's much too simplistic, and the movie has so many shadings and subtleties to it.
We don't mean to suggest there's any cure, but...
No, or that this would work in every situation. But in the end, the most important insight, I guess, is that the child is led to believe that she can count on her mother.
That she can almost...
That in the world that frightens her and is loaded with horrible surprises.
Tries to say, to literally build a bridge to within the vision that this girl has, within that she seems to have created out of her own mind, to put it into the real world and say, no, it exists here too. So you're not, you can cross, you can make a choice, and help her to make that choice, to come back. Oh, which is a moment that just, really, I still get all, I can't hardly even think about it without it getting me still.
This is an interesting choice of your own, as most of your choices have been. When you take a look back since Body Heat, your film debut, with the exception of Jewel of the Nile, the obvious sequel to Romancing the Stone, there's very little duplication in what you do. There's great variety. Is that conscious, or has that been the luck of the draw?
Well, it's not planned, because you can't usually plan ahead. That you don't always know what script is going to come to you, for choice. But certainly, it's more, I think, really a reaction, that if you've just done one kind of character, one kind of film, you've got no interest in repeating it again. You automatically look for something that's a contrast, or that will spark the whole process again. The repetition is numbing, to acting, to my mind. So it's really, it looks like well-planned choices, but that's really hindsight.
Does that bent work against maximizing stardom?
Yes, certainly. I think, people have said if I'd consolidated my action-adventure base or something like that, and then cornered the market on it, then I would have made a great deal more money anyway. But I just don't find that very interesting.
I was talking to Lawrence Kasdan about a year ago. He was on the show, and he said that
he's a man.
Yeah, Body Heat director.
And an accidental tourist, too, yeah.
And he told me that you were, out of like 150 actresses that he considered for the part, that you were the one who understood instantly that you had to play this big, that there was like almost campy aspect to it.
Well, I don't know if I knew that, if I thought that then, but I remember very much thinking that it had great style, and that one had to have style to carry these words.
I might buy you a drink.
I told you, I've got a husband.
I'll buy him one, too.
He's out of town.
My favorite kind. We'll drink to him.
Only comes up on weekends.
I'm liking him better all the time.
Kasdan wouldn't let you watch the dailies, though, right? You had never done a film before.
No,
a year and a half on The Doctors, a soap opera on NBC, and some stage work, but
never
no film.
on film, no. Oh, he was very smart. I think if I'd had really an idea of the power of a lot of those images, I would have been timid. I would have been intimidated. When I first saw Body Heat, I was put back. I never have gone to the dailies since. I've never done that, because I quite agree with him. It's not my job. All I have to do is to think about the acting, not to think about the impact of the acting visually afterwards. I don't want to know, not when I'm doing it.
The first scene shot was the most famous scene, right? Where William Hurt breaks through the door, throws the chair through the door?
No, actually,
no?
The first scene shot was the boathouse scene when was only full nudity. I think Larry decided that he'd just break the ice and throw the crew and us together. Oh my, I'll never forget that day.
So this is the first scene you've ever done in film?
Yes, and I did it nude. Yes, it was quite I thought, well, if I can handle this, I guess I can handle almost anything, so.
Give me a break here. It takes a little while.
It's your own fault. I've never wanted it like this before. Throws everything else out of whack.
It takes me a good 30 seconds.
Are you sure?
Maybe I'm confusing it because it's been a year since I spoke to Kasdan about it, but maybe this was it. That the scene where William Hurt as Ned Racine throws the porch chair through the door, comes crashing through, and the embrace takes place. One take. Was that it?
Well,
Please
I
say
don't
that's
know.
true.
No, it's not. Look, I'm sorry. I don't know what stories Larry's telling these days. I don't know what story Larry's telling, okay? The fact is, the real truth of that scene was that it was cut in half, that we had a steady cam, and all night long we were trying to get that shot from the front door to the other window to the other window to the pick up and throw. The steady cam kept breaking down. And like 5 o'clock in the morning, we get the crash and the grab. And then they say, cut, the sun's coming up. And 4 days later, we had to pick it up. I was like, how do you, I have a whole night of tension, anxiety, and and sexual frustration here. How in God's name am I going to recreate this in 4 days when we got a chance to shoot it again? But it came right back. I mean, once you create it, you don't lose it, you know. But I'm sorry, I don't know what Larry told you. But that's the truth.
Whose memory is faulty here?
Yeah,
Mine
right,
or
Larry.
his? That's the question before the court. How much is it helpful to be aware of your own sexuality in a situation like that?
Oh, well, you are very aware. I mean, you're aroused. You are. I mean, the only thing is you can't do anything about it, you know, essentially. But it's certainly to create these feelings and to touch and to kiss and to embrace is its own creation, you know. So there's no way I can't believe anyone who says they're unmoved when they were doing it. You just hear cut and it's like a cold shower, you know.
And yet, although that one is one of the most famous scenes of its kind in movie history, I read where you said your favorite love scene on film is the one with Jack Nicholson and Pritzi's Honor, where you're just kind of rolling around and laughing and you bang your heads against the headboard.
Yeah, I thought that was just, I like the lighter side of things. I like to find the humor in things. And those two characters, it just seemed as though we'd found just the right movement there. Who's on top? I'm on top, you're on top. I'm on top, you're on top. Bam!
Irene, everything being equal, would you marry me?
Everything being equal,
Yeah.
I'd marry you, Charlie.
Ah, yeah.
John Huston, who directed it, Pritzi's Honor, obviously a man's man type. What kind of insight did he have into directing women?
Well, he was not well reputed for handling women.
Although he had done Katharine Hepburn and African
but
Queen and Marilyn Monroe and the Misfits and
he'd
whatnot.
done amazing women, but
Lauren Bacall.
yeah, but most of them, I understand, was a very antagonistic relationship. Most of the women I've talked to who worked with him, I did not feel that at all. I mean, in part, I think, you know, we got along awfully well. We really did. We had a lovely sort of formality, and he used to say things like, if I were 25 years younger, you should have had to slap my face. And I'd say, I would have been charmed, sir. And the crew would go, oh, God, they hate each other. You know, we'd say, no, it's okay. But it was great. It was great. He was also very lenient in terms of letting us, our input, of letting us block a scene. He'd say, you know, call me when you have something to show me. And Jack would look at me and I'd go, yeah, come on. And we'd work out, and then he'd come in and block the camera. Unless there was something he really disliked, you know, he'd come in and block the camera, and he'd use long, uncut shots, you know, which is heaven for an actor.
Different stage of his life, too, than when he worked with Hepburn or Bacall or Marilyn Monroe, so maybe that accounts for the difference.
Also, Irene, I think the character in Pritzi's Honor was, you know, was the outsider of the whole thing. And I think that he felt that that was, you know, he had to be on my side a little bit because everybody else was teamed up.
But I would also think, regardless of whether he had relatively mellowed or not, it's your strength, the strength of your presence to hold your own with Nicholson in a lot of the scenes, with Houston behind the camera. You got to hold your own.
Yeah, I have a lovely kind of blinkers when I'm working that I know. I mean, I don't have this confidence in any other area of my life, thank you. But I do know when something's good. I know when I'm doing it right and when it's right for the character. And I mean, there was one scene when John came up and said, no, he said, no, that's not it. We've done one take. He said, that's not it. I need you to out-Sicilian the Sicilian. And I said, okay, I got it. I know what you mean. We did take 2. And he walked up and he said, you can do anything, can't you? And I said, I can live off that for the next 10 years. Thank you. It was great. I mean, but he had that kind of belief in me too. And I'm like this when I'm working. You can tell me more or less, or, you know, bigger or smaller or whatever like that. But I know. I just know.
And you have, obviously, confidence in that, enough confidence to say to a John Huston, we should play a scene this way as opposed to that.
Definitely.
And that happened in Prizzi's Honor, right?
Yeah, we had a disagreement on interpreting one scene. And I said, I'll do it full out your way, as many as you like, but give me 2 takes my way. And we did use my scene.
This is the point at where your character has decided that she's got to kill Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
He wants to correct me if I'm wrong here, but as I've been several times already, he wants to have you allow Nicholson to continue to dominate you. But you realize that once she's made this decision, the way she regards him is going to be different, and so she's got to distance herself from him.
We did it too. One way where she just seemed completely oblivious to it, and another way where she's quite aware, and we used my way.
What's the best moment you ever had on film?
Oh, God. There isn't any one, but the one in the end of House of Cards, when the child says "Mom," I think I don't know that I ever had one that I felt so crowded of emotions that I couldn't choose which one to use. You know, I just felt filled up then.
What's a moment where, if you look at it now, you say, "I know how to do this better"?
Oh, sure. Oh, I go back and look at some of the older films, particularly Body Heat, and I see myself upstaging myself, using stage relationships, spatial relationships, which of course are invalid a lot of time for camera. The camera can't see if I'm looking in that person's eyes or not, but I had to. So I had to learn a lot about the lenses, about, you know, the spacing, what the camera saw, to be able to use it for myself. So, and you go back and you see other choices you could have, might have, should have made. But as long as you're satisfied at the end of a scene, at the end of a day, that you did the best you could dream up that day, then you can go to bed. I mean, you cannot keep looking back and saying, oh, if only I had. Yeah. As long as you're sure you didn't cop out and you didn't chicken out of a choice, then it's all right. If it wasn't the best one and you learned enough in another year to have had another insight, fine, you did what you could then. That's all right.
There's always an element of humor in what you do, whether it's obvious or some kind of subtext. Even the Maddie character in Body Heat, there's a wit or there's a twinkle. There's some element of humor in all of this. But some people were slow to catch on. Is that why you made a bold statement right after that?
Right, the Man with Two Brains,
by sort of sending the Maddie character from Body Heat, sending her up.
I mean, all these people. Look, the older I get, the less I mind being called a sex symbol. I mean, this is just a fact. And I don't think I minded it then. I minded the exclusivity of that comment as if there were nothing more than that. And I just wanted to go, you know.
Drop my crutch.
Lean on me.
No, just give me my crutch.
Lean on my shoulder.
I don't want to lean on your shoulder. I want my crutch. Are you going to give me my crutch? Do I have to get down on my knees?
Take it.
Thanks.
We mustn't scream at each other. The walls in this house have ears, you know. But that's the first time I've heard you raise your voice in a long time, Brick. I cried. in the wall of composure. A good sign, I think.
Since your movie stardom, at least once you went back to the stage with Cat on a Hot Tin Roof.
I went back to Broadway. I go back to stage every 2 years, but it's usually regional theater because that's a 12, 14-week commitment. And Broadway is about a year's work, really, to mount the production and rehearse it, take it out of town, and to give at least 6 months on Broadway, which I think is what you owe the audience, you know, if they want to come see it. So you really have to plan ahead. But I've never gone, I think, more than 2 years without doing some stage because I love it so. You know, I really do. It's not a question of legitimacy to me or validation. It just feels great, you know.
In contrast to their review of Body Heat, the New York Times was very kind to Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, at least to your performance. Frank Rich loved your performance as Maggie. Now, is it instructive in any way for you to have watched Liz Taylor on screen in that? Obviously, they're two different mediums, but is there anything to be...
Two different plays. We also used the original third act, which had never been done. You know, Elia Kazan took his first third act away from him and made him rewrite it. But which Williams never forgave himself for. But in fact, I try very hard not to see a lot of the classic roles that I intend to play. I will never have seen Lady M or Hedda Gabler or a lot of these roles that I imagine one day I will play. I try very hard not to see anyone else do them, so my mind is fresh.
Kathleen Turner is back with us tomorrow night. House of Cards is the new film, and we'll see you 23 and a half hours from now. Until then, see you later.